I started reading this book about mazes, and honestly, I just got lost in it. What's going on, YouTube? Today, we are going to answer and explain the differences in daily writs versus writ books versus writ vouchers. It's probably one of the most confusing currencies in the Elder Scrolls Online, but it's actually very simple. So today we're going to break down how you get it, how you utilize it, and why it's important for you to know about these writ books, especially as the Zenthar event is coming up and so on and so forth. And it's +2. It's a great currency. It doesn't require anything exceptionally complicated. All you have to do is just a little bit of crafting. So today, I'm going to talk to you guys about that and more in my groovy shirt that I got on sale at Target. So it is no surprise that I have started us off here with these consumable crafting writs. So these are what are referred to as daily writs. These little billboards are in every single zone in the Elder Scrolls Online. And you get these once you go to the billboard in your starter zone and you basically say, hey, I want to get certified. And then boom, you're certified. And now you can do daily writs. Now, why are daily writs important? Well, they give you lots of gold. Everyone talks about it so much. It's in pretty much every gold making method video ever, gold guides ever to do daily writs. They give you a lot of gold. They give you a lot of crafting materials. Yes, it's very valuable, yada, yada. We're not going to super worry about that. Yes, you should do them. But what's important, though, is by doing these little bad mamma jammas, and bad mamma jammas they are, you actually have a chance to get the currencies inside of them. And those are the actual writ books. So, for example, you do your clothing writ, you have a chance to get one of these bad boys. You do, this is not a clothing writ, you do a jewelry writ, you have a chance to get one of these bad boys. You do a woodworking writ, you have a chance to get one of these bad boys. They're all different books tied to a specific daily crafting writ, and there's one for all of them. Alchemy, and so on and so forth. Now, this is actually tied to a specific event, so spoiler, we'll talk about that one here next. So when it comes to doing the actual writ books, what does that look like? And well, it's actually very similar. So a daily crafting writ is going to be make 2 iron daggers. Well, a sealed clothing writ might be make a, well, you can see here, a specific pair of shoes in a specific quality with a specific trait in a specific set, a specific style. Now, the reward for doing so is a writ voucher. Now, obviously, not everything requires you to actually have styles, traits, etc. For example, a la alchemy writs, you just need to know how to make this. That's all you need to know how to do. So they're all varying degrees of writ vouchers. And the reason you do them is actually for this currency. It's also tied to specific achievements. And during specific events, you can see that I pulled a Deep Winter charity event, which is from the New Life Festival. Sometimes they actually have master writs tied to specific actual in-game ESO events. And so you might get writ vouchers, and you can see here, for example, you're able to get a Skull Explorer style page. Now, the Halloween event, for example, has a chance to give you the Hollowjack style and so on and so forth. But there's actually a lot of like little nitty-gritty ones tied to events, but we're more so focused on the traditional alchemy, clother, jewelry, woodworking, etc. And so because they all are in varying difficulties, varying qualities, as you can see, this one's gold versus these ones are purple. They have varying rewards to them. And that's what an important distinction I want you guys to kind of understand. And it can be a little bit complicated, so just bear with me. There are some writs, for example, that are too expensive to do. And that might sound very weird, but hear me out. You have to spend traits, you have to spend upgrade mats. For example, this sealed clothing writ is probably worth 144 writ vouchers, but not all of them will be like that. Specifically, think to yourself, jewelry. It's a lot to upgrade to gold jewelry. If they were only offering you 100 writ vouchers, that ain't worth it. Don't worry, we'll talk about kind of the exchange rates, what you can purchase with them, and so on here in a bit. But think to yourself, and I always equate them to about 1,000. You know, writ voucher could be worth about 1,000 gold. So is it worth the upgrade materials for 144,000 gold, essentially? I'd have to get a Nirnholm material. That's not very expensive, probably 3,000. Upgrade materials on Xbox NA, dirt cheap. Probably is only going to run me about 35,000 gold. I already have the set, already have the style. So boom, all the materials, everything wrapped up in a nice bow is probably not going to cost me more than 50K. Now, what's important though is if you have to buy this writ book, you have to factor that in. I acquired this writ book, this master writ book, which means that I have almost no cost to making it except what materials need to go into it. But you have to remember, some traits are worth more, especially on jewelry writs. Harmony, for example, is worth significantly more. And upgrading a jewelry piece is worth significantly more. So even though this is about 202,000 gold worth of writ vouchers, I have to, in my mind, think, is it worth, 202 writ vouchers for me to use all of my jewelry materials to level this up? So that's what you have to get in the mindset of doing. And unfortunately, you kind of have to look on your specific console as to how much a writ is kind of worth in gold. Don't worry, I'll show you guys how to do that in the actual vendor, but that's how you can start to get in the mindset of these writ books. And that's also another way that kind of the economy controls how much value a lot of these trait materials have, because there's a lot of traits that just don't get used. So this is a way for the developers to utilize them. Also keep in mind too, the Zenthar event is coming up. People might be stocking up on certain upgrade materials, trait materials, and so on and so forth too. So you got to keep stuff like that in the old noggin. And then every single of the main capitals, so Wayrest, Mournhold, Eldenroot, they all have a actual writ voucher vendor. And you guys are able to go and purchase little things from them. More so, we're going to focus on this little rapscallion here, Royalist. And this is actually how you guys can price check on your console how much it's worth. Now, yes, there's lots of cool items. Oh, they usually have some of the newer stuff, like the Galen stuff is in here right now. Ooh, so fancy. Anywho, ignore all that garbage. Scroll all the way to the bottom. These research scrolls are actually some of the easiest stuff to sell. And on console, I sell these for about 3,000 to 5,000 each. So that's where it's 3 writ vouchers, 3,000 gold, and so on and so forth. Now, these attunable stations, I usually will sell for about $250,000. A little bit less, and usually, so maybe like 225,000. And then these research scrolls, you can sometimes get a little bit more. Now, there's a little rapscallion here next to us as well. And she also sells more of the same. Now, there's jewelry crafting. Think about the same, 10,000 gold. Attunables crafting station, same mindset. But the high isle stuff, yes, you can sell these things too. But as far as like making a profit return on that, you're probably not going to be able to sell this hourglass for over 100,000. The recipe. Now, you could sell pre-made versions, and there are people that try to successfully do that. However, when you're purchasing a BP, you have to remember it's not just a money printing machine. You're using resin, mundane runes, decorative wax, ochre, Stendar stamp, powdered mother of pearl when you make things like that. So yes, there is a profit margin for making these and selling these potted trees of stone lore dogwood. Yeah, of course, woohoo, I love me some trees. But you have to remember it's not just the initial cost of actually purchasing the BP, it's also the cost to then create multiple of them. So there are a lot of people that do it successfully, but it's a high cost to entry, and usually what they'll do is they'll sell a couple of all of these. That way they can passively make all their money back, because there's only so many people who are going to be interested in different pieces of these. And generally you can sometimes like say, hey guys, come to my house, I'm selling a whole bunch of things, and they might have one of all of these listed, and then a couple in their inventory ready to sell. That's the easiest way to do it. It can be very hard if, say, for example, John Smith, are a high isle miniature boat seller, and that's your whole shtick. It might become a little bit tricky. There's only so many people that might want that boat. It's very hard to gauge people's crafting preferences. That's why more diversity is better. More diversity is going to cost you a little bit more money. And just to talk a little bit about those event-specific ones, I know that usually when a video comes out, specific to, hey, this little hoity-toity event's coming out, this one's going to be tied to, have some writs that can do X, Y, and Z, like the Deep Winter Charity Writ. We do talk about them, but I just wanted to kind of hit home about them, about why they're a little bit different. So usually you get a motive reward page, and that's generally where the majority of your value is, because obviously one writ voucher is not worth squat. So it's really not worth doing. So generally too, like, yes, 2 writ vouchers for sealed alchemy writs is generally like really low bar too, but it's about 2,000 gold. Generally, yes, you're only using 3 ingredients to make these, or 4 ingredients to make these. So whatever, it's still technically usually profitable. It also builds towards specific achievements such as Grandmaster Crafter, and during the Zenthar event, it gives you an extra reward box, which is their main draw. So that's why I encourage people to stock up on these and actually kind of understand what they do. The currency itself is really not uber complicated. It's just tied mostly to furnishings and your ability to get yourself some nice research scroll cooldowns, which you could use for yourself. Now, there is a cooldown. You can only use them every 20 hours, but if you're trying to get yourself some really nice traits right away, so say you're really trying to push to get a bunch of divines or impen, for some PvE or PvP sets right away, and you're starting to get to the point where instead of every couple hours you can do a new trait, it's like a day or just under a day. 3,000 gold or a couple thousand gold, or using your writs for these is like absolutely nothing. So I highly encourage you guys to really invest in these or buy these if you haven't. Also, tunable woodworking stations. We are going to have an all-in-one tunable station. And a lot of guild halls used to be really off-put by the idea of having every crafted set, all of them, and then basically that's the 90% of your housing slots. So you can't really make a really nice looking guild hall because of that. But once you have an all-in-one station, I think writs themselves are going to go up in value, because writs have kind of feathering down. Every time a new crafted set is basically added to the game, it usually gains a little bit of value, because obviously you attune these stations to overworld crafting sets and then you stick them in your house. So sometimes when new ones come out, but really writs have been kind of slowly fluttering down in value. But I really think that all-in-one crafting station is going to shoot them back up again. So as you guys get ready for the Zenthar event, stock up on Writ Vouchers, stock up on Writ Books, do your daily quests, even though technically we're not there yet. It's one of the most profitable things to do in the game. It gives you great rewards. It gives you great experience, even if you're not a maxed out crafter. Now, let me just whack you guys over the head. I don't want this to be a daily crafting writ video, because that's it's talked about all the time, and I'm sure most of you know this, but daily crafting writs are OP. You can do them on a level 0. You could be coming out of the fetus. You could just be a bunch of stem cells, and you could do your daily crafting writs. Especially if you have the craft bag. You don't even have to, take the effort of, moving crafting materials around. And if you don't have a lot of crafting materials, you get rewarded for crafted materials. And you get the roll for materials. And if you're not maxed out crafting, you get a lot of crafting experience. It's just overall, it is an amazing circle jerk of amazingness, and I think that everyone should do them, especially if you need gold, materials, experience, and so on and so forth. Champion points. It's a great champion point farm. I know that I don't want this to become a daily crafting writ video. Put it at the end, because I know a lot of people already know this stuff, so please put the pitchforks away, because I love you. But daily crafting writs, OP, save those master writs, and start stocking up on those. And I would also maybe hold on to your Writ Vouchers, especially as we get closer to Q3, and we can kind of get more information about the all-in-one crafting station. Is it going to cost Writ Vouchers? Is it going to be a crown item? I think regardless, it's going to make Writ Vouchers go up in value. But if, say, for example, you have to spend like 500 Writ Vouchers or 1,000 Writ Vouchers, Writ Vouchers are going to skyrocket for a little bit of time. And I want you guys to all be there when that happens, if it is to happen. But dear friends, that's going to wrap up the video. What did you guys think? Are you guys excited to do your Writ books? Are you excited for the Zenthar event? Are you excited for the new items that come into the little furnishing fella? I know I am. I'm always excited for Zenthar events because I think it's just something different to farm. I always think that the two most common events, in my opinion, are the Undaunted Celebration event, Mid-Year Mayhem, PvP, and dungeon farming. So generally, when you get something that's a little more passive, you can do it while you're, doing whatever, filing your taxes, making chili, whatever, the two most common activities that we do as Americans. You're able to passively get gold, experience, unique rewards, and I love that. So I hope you guys are ready for the event. If you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I'm more than willing to make a new daily crafting writs video. I know that they're beaten to death, and I know that you guys probably know all this information about daily crafting writs. Really, I wanted to focus on the master writs, which are the ones that give you the Writ Voucher rewards. If you guys have follow-up questions, always put them in the comments below. 3 giveaway drawings we're doing again. 1 random comment, 1 random subscriber, and I'm going to flash a random word across the screen on one of my videos, maybe multiple videos. The first person to comment is going to win a giveaway drawing. And obviously the giveaways, if you are new, is basically either a chunk of a little bit of money, about $20, $30-ish, or an ESO item from the ESO store or Bethesda item. We've done Skyrim items, we've done ESO items, and everyone seems to be satisfied so far. However, I refuse to send any items that are associated with the Ebonheart Pact or the Thalmor. So keep that in mind if you wholeheartedly support them. And I just know I love you guys, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jake Clips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.
Post-outro Jake here, just very quickly. So tomorrow will be the Update 37 video if I have time. It might have to be pushed to Thursday depending on work chaos. You never can really project with a crystal ball what's going to happen. Then we're going to start crafting the endgame kind of mid-game player guide. I think it's going to be really like a mid-game kind of player guide on how you can really start to get into endgame content, really start making sure you're min-maxing different things, farming for specific things, getting into some routines that are going to benefit you into getting into the end game, whether that's PvP, PvE, social aspects, 4-man content, trials, solo content, yada, yada, yada. We're going to touch upon all of it because there's a ton of end game content. I mean, there's furniture. We didn't even say that, and that's really the true end game, because if you want to be an end game furnisher, you have to have end game PvP, end game PvE, 4-man solo, and everything. So really, I think we can all agree that furnishing is the true ESO end game.